Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Cable 9, your community channel, for our special here tonight on the St. John's Maple Leafs, a Sports Plus special. We're going to take a look back at the Leafs when they came here. We're going to talk to some players. Todd Gillingham and Marcel Cousineau are going to be here. We've got a special floor director in Buddy DePuffin. We're also going to talk to the chairman and the vice chairman of the St. John's Maple Leafs, Danny Williams and Mike Donovan, about the future of the team, how it got here, what the future holds. That'll be a little bit later on in the show. You also get an opportunity tonight. You can phone in and talk to Marcel Cousineau or Todd Gillingham, or if you want to, you can talk to Ed O'Brien, who's a scout. We'll interview or show you Ed in a couple of seconds here on the show. It's one that we're going to lay back and let you decide if you want to talk to us tonight and let us know what you think about the Leafs, what they've done for this city, and what they've done possibly for the province, and if you'd like them to stay around. Well, first of all, we're going to introduce you to the panel we've got here tonight. And first of all, joining us, our regular, is Bob Rideout, who is with our Sports Plus program every week, and Bob joins us tonight. Next to Bob is Randall Wheeler, another gentleman of regular on our Sports Plus show here on Cable 9, who can't wait to get in and discuss the situation concerning the Leafs. Also joining us, a regular from the AHL tonight, from the St. John's Evening Telegram, Brendan McCarthy, who knows more about the Leafs, I suppose, than even Buddy DePuffin, I would imagine. And next to Brendan is Ed O'Brien. Ed is a scout with the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, if I'm correct, with Moncton. And Ed has seen a lot of players come around and come and go from this province, so it's going to get kind of interesting. As I say, you get a chance. Our phone number, if you want to call us as we get into the show, it'll be 753-7583. We're at extension 252. So anytime you feel like calling, we'll interrupt what we're doing and we'll get into the telephone conversation tonight with you. But to get things started, Brendan, you were here from day one when the Leafs came to town. They came from Ontario to St. John's. A lot of players from Newfoundland have played with this team over the years.
There's been a lot. 2 years ago, it seemed like at one point half the team was out of the local senior league, but a few have made a mark, and I guess the first would be one of our guests tonight, Todd Gillingham, who joined the Leafs shortly after the start of the first season, and has had a couple of stints since then. And I think the other memorable one would be Andy Sullivan, who really captured the heart not of only local people, but of the coaching staff and his teammates with St. John's at the time. I know that Mark Crawford really enjoyed having Andy Sullivan on the team and used to make a point of just staying close to him in practice. And then we've had everybody from Darren Colburn was here. He played a game. John Drover, Greg Weber, Ricky Field, but they were fill-ins for the most part. Andy Sullivan, I guess, was a fill-in as well, but kind of a very notable one. But really, we've had Todd Gillingham and now Warren Norris, although we haven't seen very much of Warren Norris here at the Memorial Stadium, as much as most people would like, I think. So there's room for lots more.
Okay, as we say, in order to get to the American Hockey League, somebody got to discover you and see where you're playing, and this is where Ed O'Brien comes in. And Ed, you say that you come down, you watch various games around. How do you decide where does a player go? How does he get where he's going? And when did we get into scouting here?
I guess scouting got big about 5-6 years ago in Newfoundland, where no scouts were done from the mainland. They came and said, look, there's a need to have somebody in Newfoundland to look at these players. So I guess about 5 years ago I started working with Oshawa and worked with them for 3 years, and then finished with them and went with Moncton. And we would do, right now, it'll come back from Central Scouting. They'll do their own scouting there, and now we do it as an individual team. But we have Rick Babstock here in Newfoundland who'll do works for Central Scouting in the OHL. John Fisher is a scout with the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles, and Steve Bishop now has started with the Halifax Moosehead. So again, more teams see the need for scouts here in Newfoundland. There's lots of talent here.
Ed, there was a time not too long ago when seeing any Newfoundlander in major junior competition was a big deal. Now there are a bushel load of them right across Ontario and in the Quebec League as well. I'm just wondering, as you look at things from a scouting perspective, what do you see as the difference from, say, 10 years ago to now? Why are there more Newfoundlanders in junior hockey now?
I think because the teams now in the last 5 to 6 years have gotten out of Newfoundland, played on the mainland, get the exposure, get seen, and people start to realize that there's quite a bit of talent in Newfoundland. So now they don't want to miss it, and they're afraid that other teams are going to get there ahead of you, so now they start hiring people to go and scout for them. So I think that's what's made the big difference. The talent has been put out there.
Looking at it from a point of view of a player, like a minor hockey player who wants to get exposed or discovered or whatever the case is, ideally for a scout would be to get the scout to come to watch you play. But I saw a little article on TV last week, I believe, with all the U.S. bowl games in football. They were sending videotapes. If they lived, away from the main areas, they send videotapes to the scouts. Do they do that with you too?
That still happens, yeah. We'll get they'll send videos to Moncton. They won't send it to me. They'll go to Moncton and they'll look at it. If they like it, what they see, then they'll send somebody to go and look at the kid play. Right?
So could we maybe somewhere down the line we should get an address out where somebody who's watching could probably send maybe another show or something, we could have that ready.
Sure. I'm sure that'll work.
Oh yeah.
Ed, I'm just curious, from your standpoint, when you're scouting kids, everybody says the same thing, you're looking for size and speed, but I'm just wondering about the intangibles. What do you look for personality-wise from a kid to see if he can handle the competition at a higher level?
Well, we look for like the kids that do the small things in the game. We look for a kid that can play defensive hockey, plays on the defensive side all the time. These little things that we will look for, that how aggressive they're going to play. Are they going to back off? Are they going to be aggressive on the puck? That type of thing. So it's not basically the size and how hard they shoot the puck, but what they know about the game. Can they play the defensive game? Can they handle systems?
Right.
If they're doing a system, are they within the system, or they just don't know what's going on? So these are the intangibles we look for, and it makes a difference.
Having said that, do you obviously if somebody was playing minor hockey, they get their parents or their girlfriend or whatever it is to come and watch them, they get a bit nervous, right? So if they find out that a scout is coming to watch them, do you take that into account when you make your assessment out?
Not really. Like, what we feel is you have to play on demand. And if the scout is there, you've got to go out and play. And if you can't play in front of a scout,
Yeah.
that's one of the intangibles we look for. But preferably what we'd like to do is just go into the rink, go to a corner, stand up, watch the game, get out. If we can get in and out without anybody knowing we're there, that's great.
So you basically go in unannounced.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get to Brendan, the question I want to know, since the Saints team, we're talking the Leafs, since the Leafs have been here, what kind of an impact has that had on kids who want to play hockey or are aspiring to go on to other leagues? Has that a big influence with the Leafs being here?
Oh, yeah, definitely, right? And like, it's improved for us for coaching. I mean, I spend days down in the rink just watching the drills and watching their systems, and then we take it back, we teach it to the kids when we go to a provincial camp. So we gain all this expertise that we would never have get if the Leafs weren't here. I mean, just there's no way to get it. So now this is all at your fingertips. If we need any information, you can knock on the door. I mean, any of the coaching staff they've had, they'll bring you in, sit you down. Any information you look for, this is fantastic. It's great.
I mean, Ed, knowing some of the coaches we've had here, I bet you've expanded your vocabulary as well. I'm interested in getting back to one thing. That was about the personalities. I know at the pro level, when they scout fellows, a lot of teams, in fact, most teams put family and personal characteristics, not even related to the game itself, but way up there. I know that Terry Ryan said, for goodness sakes, there was somebody asked him if he had a dog. It was in one of the questionnaires. They say it'll show up in the long run as a hockey player. Do you get into that at the junior level?
Well, what happens is we'll do our drafting reports. We'll send everything in, and then each individual team will decide which players they're interested in, and then they will make them phone calls before the draft. And they will ask all about their family and who their sister goes out with and what they do, like you say, what kind of dog they got, and all them questions are asked. But they only phone the players they're interested in. So it doesn't happen to everybody. You may not get the phone call, you may, and if you get that phone call, they're quite interested in that individual. Right?
Psychology.
What about the line that's drawn when you talk of college hockey or football in the States, that tampering line? If you're interested in a kid, can the St. John's Maple Leafs phone you and say, look, we want this kid, or we're going to tout him, we're going to walk in? Is it done that way, or do you recommend to some team or some central bureau that anybody can take him?
Well, once you're going into the draft, everybody's open. Like last year in the draft in Sherbrooke, we wanted Morgan Warren as our first pick in Moncton. We had the second pick in the draft. Quebec wanted him, and Quebec has Patrick Waugh. He's one of the owners. And 3 hours before the draft, he cornered Warren Morgan and gave him an offer, and we still got him, but he made the deal, and that happens regular. And that's two teams, but that's happening with all the teams.
But I'm saying, if Patrick Waugh talked to him and got him, can he go with that team? Even though some other team drafted him, can he go with you because he likes you better than he does some other team? The Eric Lindros syndrome.
No, like they had made the commitment before the draft. Okay, the commitment was made that he was going to come with Moncton if Moncton were prepared to pick him, and they were. And then Patrick Waugh made a better offer to him, but he said no, he had made the commitment and he'd stay. Once he's drafted, there's no tampering whatsoever then.
What's this doing to 16-year-olds? I mean, we're talking about 16-year-olds now, kind of in the high politics of hockey. Can they? I can't imagine most of them could handle that or even fathom a lot of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, the 16-year-olds today are a hell of a lot more mature than what we were when we were 16, I'll guarantee you. They've got more things running by them, and you take Cleary and Terry Ryan, Harold Druken, Keith Delaney, all these kids that are playing the major junior hockey now, they're mature men. They're 16 going on 24, and that's the way they have to be.
Just to mention our phone numbers in case if you've got a question for Ed or you want to talk about anything about the Leafs, you see our number on the screen, 753-7583, extension 252 if you want to get on the air, and we'll let Ed answer your questions. Or if you got any for Marcel Cousineau, or you've got them for Todd Gillingham or Danny Williams or Mike Donovan, believe me, we'll be here to answer the questions. The other one, some of the names have gone up. Who are they?
Right now in major junior hockey, out of St. John's alone, that came through our system, Leaf system, we've got Ryan Walsh playing in Cape Breton, Jeff Sullivan in Halifax, Ryan Powers in Halifax, Mark Hines is in Erie, Chad Ryan is in Cape Breton, Robbie Bennett is in Cape Breton, Mark Chapman is in Belleville, Keith Delaney is in Barrie, and Harold Druken is in Detroit. Well, that's 9 from here, plus like there's Billy Brown, Keith, young Warren Heffert, young Brian Barker on the West Coast. I mean, there has to be at least right now 14 kids playing major junior hockey. We were in Sault Ste. Marie last week for a tournament. We go to watch an OHL game, and there's 2 Newfoundlanders playing, one in Sault Ste. Marie and one in Detroit. So it's, it's exciting for the kids today.
I won the pool, by the way, and how long it'll take you to get in the show to make a crack at Lindros. But what's the youngest age you'd look at a player?
We look at him as first year bantam would be about the earliest we would look.
So if you get like phone calls or something, somebody's lightened up scoring 5 or 6 goals every game, and he's like, 14 or whatever the case is, you'll go and take a look at him.
We'll go look at him, like Brent Roach from Bay Roberts area. He was scouted last year as a peewee. I would say every team on the East Coast knows who Brent Roach is right now.
So you're talking about like what, 13?
He's first year bantam now, played peewee last year. He can't be drafted till next year as an underager, and no doubt he'll be drafted.
So that's the same kind of exposure that Terry Ryan was getting, right?
Yeah.
I remember in Mount Pearl, I was coaching a bit of minor hockey in Mount Pearl, and he was the phenom, and he was only in bantam, then bantam major now, but there was the same kind of deal with him.
But there's still another 15 Brent Roaches out there, The talent is just unbelievable.
Actually, it shows, because when people like John Slaney got drafted in the NHL, they'd be getting all kinds of media exposure here, but now we're getting multiple Newfoundlanders into one draft, and the media exposure kind of dies down a little bit.
I guess we're not as isolated as we used to be when it comes to this. When we had just one Alec Faulkner person, and we had
that's right,
now it's not isolated. By the way, we forgot to mention about Ed. He coached the AAA Maple Leaf Midgets that just won a hockey tournament up in Ontario. You went undefeated in that tournament, I take.
Yeah, 5 wins on the tie.
Yeah. I mean, that speaks well for the situation in hockey here in the province. Any players up now that have got a chance from Newfoundland? We've seen clearing that have got a chance to possibly take that next level to the NHL.
I think Brian Barker can play in the NHL. Keith Delaney is going to play in the NHL. Brent Roach will play in the NHL. That's the kid we just talked about. And then Jeff Sullivan, Ryan Walsh, all these kids can play in the NHL.
Plus the fact with more expansion teams coming in, it gives more opportunities.
It gives more opportunities for all the kids. And all of them are quite capable. It just depends. A lot of it depends on the luck, if you're in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. So if you go check out a kid and he basically, for a lack of better word, sucks during that little game.
That's the Philadelphia coming out of it.
Are you going to let him know that there was a certain area of his game that didn't?
No, we'll go back. One look is not enough. We'll always go back and look 2 or 3 times. I see kids play 4 or 5 times, and we do ratings, and then we go back and check our notes from each game and that, and see if they picked it up or went down. And I must see probably 7 days a week I'm in the ring, so we figure it out.
See, I'm thinking now that all these kids are playing hockey, and all of a sudden they see you down in the corner, and you're just there to watch your kid.
Well, we talk about kids have been discovered now, and the availability. I can tell you back, and we're going to go to it now. It was back in the 60s, and that's when I was a linesman, a referee. Ed remembers those days.
Yeah, I remember them.
And but there was a guy from Corner Brook, played in goal with the Corner Brook Royals, Dougie Grant. And Dougie Grant played for a lot of years Newfoundland senior hockey. Looked upon, I suppose, as being the best we had at that time in Newfoundland senior hockey. And Doug went to Memorial University, and then all of a sudden things changed around for Dougie Grant. He got discovered. Well, Ted Patey, who was our field reporter, went out and had a chat with Doug Grant about his professional hockey career in the mainland, and he went with Detroit.
Dougie, how would you compare the opportunities now for kids, say, as to when you played, as compared to today's kids playing minor hockey?
Well, Ted, I guess back in my day, there weren't many kids playing hockey, and there was only a couple of rinks, probably in Newfoundland at the time. I know when I started playing hockey, I guess I was 7 years old back in 1955 in Corner Brook. A few kids were playing. It was a new rink, and we would walk up from curling in those days. Not a lot of people had vehicles, and I guess not a lot of kids played hockey then. But today, I mean, the kids are playing everywhere. There's rinks in every little community, you know, all across Canada and all across North America, I guess. And the kids now, I mean, every door is open to them. You know, regarding, I guess, just playing local house league hockey or even playing on the elite level. For me, I guess when I was 10 years old, we traveled to Quebec for a big tournament, and we were the first team that had ever leave Newfoundland in those days, and that was really something. But I got a young fellow now, Stephen, who's just turned 17. I mean, he's been traveling all over Canada, and has been to the World Championships last year himself. And it's not only him. I mean, a lot of his friends and a lot of kids in Newfoundland have done the same thing. Plus, a lot of kids have been drafted now and playing in the National Hockey League in the last several years, and follow the route straight through major junior A hockey and college in the States. And that's opportunities that we certainly never had, 30, 35 years ago.
Dougie, when we talk about the sports side, the education side, you were a bit of a late bloomer. I understand you were 21 or 22 before you went to Mon and started out in the AAUAA, and I believe that's when you got your big break.
Well, that's true, Ted. I guess most guys back those days, I guess you played minor hockey, sort of high school hockey, and then senior hockey. And if you were fortunate, you played for your hometown in the Newfoundland Amateur Hockey Association. And I was lucky enough to play with the Royals for 5 years, and during those times I also worked at the mill in Corner Brook. And after 5 years, decided that I'd like to do something different with my life. So my wife and I both quit our jobs and came to Memorial to go to school. And I guess during that school year, playing with Mon, we had a pretty good year hockey-wise, and we're playing in the playoffs, in the AUA playoffs in Halifax. And I was scouted there by a couple of NHL teams, and from there, Detroit put me on their list, and I ended up playing 3 games in Fort Worth that year, and then next year turned pro.
And Dougie, you turned pro, and you also had some stints with, I understand, the St. Louis Blues.
That's right. My first year pro, I guess I played in the American Hockey League with Detroit, Detroit's farm team rather, in Virginia, and then the next year I played with the Red Wings. And a couple of years later, I guess I got traded to St. Louis and spent time with the Blues as well as in Salt Lake City. So I had 10 years of good hockey experience, and good enjoyment.
Dougie, again, in your opinion, since the St. John's Maple Leafs and the AHL franchise has come to St. John's, do you think there's better and more opportunities for our young hockey players?
Well, I think, I'm not sure there's any more opportunities than there has been in the last several years, because it seems like the opportunity's been there the last probably 9-10 years, where a lot of kids are leaving Newfoundland and getting drafted and, playing the National Hockey League. I mean, John Slaney, Terry Ryan, Danny Clary to be coming up soon. I mean, that's just a few of the guys that have gone down. But in the last 7 years with the Leafs being here, there are probably a lot more kids now who are interested in hockey that probably wouldn't have been playing hockey and have chosen, to play. And, I'm sure that the numbers, are probably higher now than they would have been, if the Leafs weren't here.
So there you go, Doug Grant, a guy I remember playing well in the Newfoundland Senior Hockey League. Now to my right is the #1 goaltender of the St. John's Maple Leafs, Marcel Cousineau. And joining Marcel is his sidekick. We got a new camera person here tonight, by the way. Here he comes. This is Marcel's bosom buddy. Buddy, is it?
That is Buddy, yes. Yeah.
That's our camera buddy.
We'll welcome Marcel. Maybe can he work the camera better than he can hang around on hockey at the stadium? No, I can't do anything with it. I'm useless. Anyhow, it's nice to have Marcel here. As we get into the show here, first right off the bat, I understand we've got a caller here. Someone wants to talk to Marcel. You don't mind taking the call from one of the fans? Okay, we go to the line, and caller Marcel Cousineau is here waiting for your call. Hello.
Hi, Marshall.
Hi. You got your question? Go ahead. Hello.
What's it like being St. John's goalie?
It's pretty fun, you know. And, when you're young, you're always dreaming of playing professional hockey. And my first year when I got here, it was great to play here. And fans are great, and it's a nice city to play in. And I learned a lot of things here. I've played here. It's my 4th year this year, and last year being in Toronto, it would have been my 5th year this year. But I was in Toronto for a year last year. So, but it's a great town. It's fun to play here, and but I think everybody that plays here wants to play in the NHL, and that's their main goal.
You got another question?
Yeah, Marshall. Keep up the good work. You're doing good.
All right, thanks a lot.
As you mentioned there, you want to make it to the NHL. You were drafted by Boston, if I'm right?
Yep.
You were drafted by Boston. You're here for the period of time. You've had a taste of the show. I suppose you're on edge wondering, can I get back?
Yeah, you know, my first years when I was here, that was a big question. When you haven't played in the NHL, as much as you can play well in the AHL, you always have that question of, am I able to play in the NHL, you know? And last year, I think I answered all my questions. When I played in the NHL, I think I played pretty well. I had a shutout up there, a lot of games, a couple of games I had stars, and so I was doing things that I was able to do down here, and that's when I felt that I could play. And I think even today I could tell you that I feel good at the NHL level, and that's where I want to get back at. So I'm just going to work on my game and continue and try to get back in the NHL.
Marcel, I know it's a bit of a numbers game up in Toronto right now where they signed Glenn Healy as well and gave him 3 goaltenders. But I'm just wondering, from your standpoint, when you were up there, what do you think it takes to stay in the NHL? Because we saw somebody like Jim Carey, who was a Vezina winner just a couple of years ago, get sent back down this year. So what do you think it takes to stay up there?
I think compared to a player, as much as you have to perform and do well every night, I think you always have to do, until you have a big name and you've played 10 years or 5 years in the league, I think every year you have to come back in the same attitude and play well each and every night. And because there's guys pushing in your back every day to come and take your spot. And I think that's the main thing. And as a goalie, I think it's really a mental game compared to a player. A player, it's a little bit more mental, but you're on and off the ice for a full game. As a goalie, when you go in there, it's for a full game. You know, you hope you're in there for a full game. So it's more of a mental game than anything else.
There's in a good way, there's a cockiness to goaltenders, I find, that usually the successful ones. And is that something that you develop as maybe a protection against a lot of criticism? Goaltenders get a lot of criticism from fans and maybe even their own teammates at times. A lot of pressure is put on them, a lot of focus. Is that, you've got a little bit of confidence too, kind of a little bit of cockiness. Is it something you developed, or was it natural, or is it?
Yeah, I think it's when you get in there. I think you need that. You're in front of people. I go out there every night, and I want to help the team win. But at the same time, it's a show. People pay for a good show, come to see a good game, and I think every night you go in there, you're like an actor. You have to give them a good show. And that's what I try to do. As much as I want to help the team win and play well, but at the same time, you're giving a good show for the fans.
One thing I'm sure you're always asked is when like you said, you were up in the show last year, everybody's going to ask you, what's the difference between American Hockey League and NHL? And of course, we've always heard it's things like the size, the strength of the player, they shoot faster, they skate faster, all that kind of stuff. But off the ice, what's the difference?
Off the ice, when you talk about all the aspect, everything's a little bit bigger. Everything's bigger. You're going to go, if you're on the road, like hotels are bigger, the meals are bigger, money is bigger. You're talking the same thing here in Toronto and St. John. That's one thing that's great. It's pretty much the same. You can feel the same thing in St. John than you can feel in Toronto. Except in Toronto, everything's bigger. You're going to fly bigger planes. Here we fly smaller planes. It's a little bit more professional and bigger up there what you get for service, and you've got more people helping you. You've got more coaches, more staff, but St. John's is like a small Toronto down here.
You know, I was listening to you when you said that in essence you're still an entertainer as well as being a hockey player, and you have to entertain the fans. And in doing the play-by-play, I've seen you sometimes make that glove save and whip the hand up around the head, a little bit of showmanship. That's what you're getting. I was trying to entertain the fans a little bit with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as much as you need that confidence too to be able to entertain. If you're not feeling good, if you're not playing well, it's a lot harder to be able to entertain. Then you're concentrating a lot more on what you have to do. But when you're feeling good, you're playing well, and for sure you're thinking about giving a good show. And at the same time you're giving that good show, it gives you confidence and it makes you play better.
Right.
When Glenn Healy wound up with Toronto, what went through your mind?
Oh, a lot of things. I remember sitting in my cottage and getting the phone call, and it was pretty hard. You know, I was working hard. I met the trainers twice already during the summer. They came down to my cottage where I am, and we worked out and stuff. So I thought really they were taking care of me. They wanted me to be ready for the season, and I was working out every day. I was ready. So when I got the phone call, I didn't expect it. It's not something like I read in the papers. In Montreal, you could read it that they wanted to go get somebody. In Toronto, I never read it that they wanted to go get somebody, get another backup or so. So I was never thinking that they would do it. And but you know, if it was hard for a couple of weeks, I had a hard time working out and stuff. But I got back at it and I said, hey, you know, you played there, you know you can do it. So just work hard, go back to training camp, and we'll see what happens.
How much of a carrot is expansion? I mean, 4 teams coming in 4 years. You're going to be still young in terms of goaltenders. It seems these days. How much do you think about that, or is it focus still totally Toronto?
No, I wouldn't say focus is all on Toronto right now. I think expansion is in everybody's mind that played in the NHL and that are playing in the AHL right now. It's a good thing for sure. Every team looks good. I'm going to play hard for the next few months I've got. We'll see what happens at the end of the summer. But if it's in Toronto, it's in Toronto. But I just want to get back in the NHL, and if I get a chance somewhere else, for sure I'll jump on it.
Marcel, we often heard, especially last year, not so much this year, but a lot last year, about trade rumors involving Felix Potvin. Personally, what do you think? Is he going to be moved?
It's hard to say.
I know you'd obviously want him to be moved.
Yeah. It's a hard situation. I'm really close with Felix. We spent a lot of times when we were together last year in Toronto. He's a good friend of mine, and Felix is a great goalie. As much as people can say, oh, Felix, he's not what people think and stuff. I think he's one of the best goalies in the league, one of the top maybe 5 goalies in the league. And a lot of times at certain areas, people say, oh, we should trade him, should trade him. I think people are going to realize how good he is the day they trade him. Mm-hmm. And it happens with a lot of players. And Felix is a good guy, good player, and like I said, he's a good goalie. And maybe last couple of years, people say that he hasn't played as his potential. But when you look at some games, he saved a lot of games, and he won a lot of games too for Toronto Maple Leafs.
Like personally, when Glenn Healy was picked up, I said on the show a couple of times that my personal feeling was that he was going to be moved, and it was going to be you and Healy as a tandem in Toronto, and I still think that that's what's going to happen. Have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And the people that are saying that, oh, I'd like them to work in Toronto. But you never know. Like as much as I hear those things, but I try not to concentrate on that. I try to concentrate on what I have to do, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's something I heard a lot.
Okay, we're going to give Marcel a little bit of a break right here. You can rest the voice. We got lots of questions, and if you've got a phone call, you see the number on the screen, 753-7583 extension 252. And don't forget, coming up now within the next part of the show, we still have Marcel, we got Todd Gillingham to come, we got Mike Donovan, and we got Danny Williams, and we got those famous words that are going to crop up tonight. You ready? Civic Centre. We're going to get into that later on, but we'll be back with Marcel and other people, and if you got questions, give us a call right here on Cable 9 with Sports Plus Live, your community channel.
Cable 9, your community channel. After coaching 11 years, I felt that I'd like the challenge to move to the next level, which is not always there. When you think you're ready to move, the opening's not there. So Toronto contacted me this summer, wondering what I thought about coaching, and I jumped at it. The challenges are, I come into the job well-versed in dealing with young people at the university level. I'm aware that things are happening differently every day, and I feel that I'm surrounded by people that can help me, either help me in making decisions or I'll make them on my own.
I tell you, it's interesting. It gets all kinds of interesting on live television, especially down at the stadium, and we don't know who this, when you go home to your nest or go out to, where is it, Cape Shore, and get out on the rocks somewhere, no. I don't like you.
You definitely have to say he's the most colourful.
He is.
But he can
most colourful.
You can smell it, a non-ice official, no matter how they're dressed.
I bet you can. Are your brothers and sisters coming to your party this year? There, okay. You going back to Cape Shore?
Buddy, we've been trying to rough up Carol like that on the set for 2 seasons now.
You want to come on Sports Plus some night and rough up Bob? Say yes? Go bad. All right. As I say, we're here in the next hour of our show. Marcel Cousineau, the goaltender with the St. John's Maple Leafs, is with us tonight, and I understand we've got a caller on the line. Caller, you've got a question for Marcel Cousineau or somebody else? Hello. Come on down. Are we there? I guess we can. Well, until we get the caller back.
Marcel,
caller?
this probably goes without saying, but what's your favorite team?
In the NHL?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to say that my favorite team right now is still Toronto.
You have to say, or you want to say?
No, I have to say. I played there. It's a great city to play in. Fans are great.
Like as a fan, speaking as a fan.
Yeah.
I would have thought Montreal.
Montreal's a great city. I got a chance to be in the Molson Center when we played there last year, and it's a great building, great fans. But I think when you're talking about Montreal or Toronto, they're both great building, great fans, and it's a great place to play.
Gee, thanks. I thought you would have said Boston. Boston. Do you want to change?
Bottom of Marcel, I think.
Okay, we're gonna try our telephone call again. Hello, caller. You there?
Yes.
Okay, we got Marcel Cousineau. You want to ask him a question, or you want to come after somebody else?
I'll ask Marcel Cousineau a question.
Okay, go ahead.
How different did you find it playing NHL?
For sure, it's a lot different. It's a little bit faster. Guys are a little bit better, and but it's fun. You know, it's you're playing, instead of playing in front of 4,000 people, you're playing again in front of 16, 17, 18,000 people. So it's great. It's a great feeling. It's something that I never knew if I'd be able to do. I was able to do it last year, and guys are good. You know, they're a little bit quicker, and when they do their plays, I think that's the main thing. When they're going to do their plays from one end to the other, everything's quicker. Passes are on the tape, and you always have to be ready, because the second you think he's not going to shoot, the shooter's going to shoot.
I've got to think there's snipers are up there.
So you get another question, caller?
So do you think you're going to be up there soon again?
I hope so. You know, I'm gonna work hard down here and do the best I can to help the team win here. And if I am able to do that, I think maybe I'll get a chance to get back. If it's not in Toronto, maybe somewhere else.
Okay. Keep up the good work.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Yep. Bye.
Thanks very much. Okay, Brendan. Sorry about that.
Apologies to the caller.
Apologies, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to think the snipers. One thing we don't see in this league, we see good defensemen, we see great goaltending, we see this is a great developmental league for role players. We don't see snipers very much in this league. The difference in the shooters up there, the accuracy, the hardness of the shot, it has to be noticeable. Yeah, for sure. I find that guys in the NHL shoot from everywhere. You think they're never going to shoot, and suddenly they shoot. You'll make a save, you fall, the puck's behind the net. They're going to try to shoot it in your back to put it in. They're always shooting at you. I got caught last year in Edmonton. A guy was in the corner and shot in the front, made a save. Then he shot in the back of my leg and put it in. You know, guys are shooting from everywhere, and you always have to be ready. As soon as they cross the red line, I think you have to be focused to stop the puck, because you never know when he's going to shoot. And you saw it in Toronto. They scored a couple from the red line this year. And guys have great shots. And I'm not blaming the goalies or stuff, because sometimes the puck is coming quick, and if you're
you're not looking at the puck or you're not ready for the shot, there's a lot of times it takes only a second and the goal is in.
And they were good shooters too, Al McInnes and Brendan Shanahan.
Exactly. So
We had Ed O'Brien on a scout and talked about kids from Newfoundland. How did Marcel Cousineau get discovered?
I played midget AAA, and I won the Air Canada Cup my year, and so that helped a lot. I won the goalie of the tournament, and from there I got drafted in second round in junior, and then I went there and played for an expansion team, and I saw a lot of rubber in those couple of years. Playing against Gilly too, they had a pretty good team, and when I went in their building and got a lot of shots, so. That's the way I got noticed, and then got drafted by Boston, and then came here.
Okay, I'm being given the sign that it's just about time to get to a feature that producer Susan Bonnell and I put together in preparation for this show, taking a look at some of the key people on the Maple Leafs, the folks who are going to determine basically whether this team makes the playoffs or not. Just some player profiles. Hope you enjoy it. Take a look. Too many times this year, the Leafs offense has begun and ended with Brandon Convery. The former first-round draft pick leads the team in goals and is an offensive force to be reckoned with. The only question here is, will Convery be around to lead the Leafs' playoff charge? With the parent club struggling to score, a call-up to Toronto may be imminent, and other NHL teams have also shown an interest in acquiring him. A smooth playmaker, Convery possesses all the tools necessary to not only carry the bulk of the Leafs' offense, but eventually to stick in the NHL. Kevin Adams has been a welcome addition to the Leafs since being sent down by Toronto in early November. A fast skater, Adams has helped to spread the offense around a bit and give St. John's a quality number 2 center. At times, Adams has dominated the game, and at age 23, he seems to be hitting his stride. His continued good play is essential to any playoff run the Leafs mount. While Mark Dayel has led the Leafs in scoring for some of this season, school is still out on this talented forward. Known in junior ranks as an excellent offensive center, Dayel was expected to make this his second season with the Leafs a breakout year. In truth, that has not happened. His intensity level and consistency have to improve if he's to contribute to making the Leafs a contender in the second half of the season. Unquestionably, the most important acquisition for St. John's this year, Todd Gillingham has added a much-needed physical presence on this team.
Keep your head up, Stefan, because here comes the hitman from the Humber.
But Gilly's contribution goes past his ability to duke it out with opposition tough guys. His leadership skills, both in the dressing room and on the ice, may be the essential ingredient in getting the Leafs over the 500 mark and keeping them there. As well, his robust style of play and popularity with the fans have actually caused an increase in attendance at Memorial Stadium. Every team needs someone like Todd Gillingham, and the Leafs are lucky to have him. If you're looking for a definition of the word enigma, check out Aaron Brand. A prolific scorer in junior hockey, Brand has yet to get on track in the AHL. But it's not for lack of effort. Game in and game out, Brand is the Leafs' best forechecker and penalty killer. Yet, try as he may, he just can't seem to find his scoring touch. His work ethic is laudable. Now, if he could only dent the twine a bit more often, what a shot in the arm it would be for the Leafs offense. A player who exemplifies what's good about this game is Nathan Dempsey. Willing to do whatever it takes to help the team win, Dempsey was supposed to be converted to a right winger this year, but because of injuries to the blue line core, has had to revert to defense. The result, Dempsey has been the most consistent Leaf defenseman night in and night out. Well deserving of the captaincy, Dempsey's continued solid play is not just hoped for, it's a given. And the Leafs are keeping their fingers crossed that a recent concussion won't keep him out of the lineup for too long. One of the premier rushing defensemen in the league, David Cooper's credentials should have him playing in the NHL. an offensive threat on a team that's desperately needed one, the only question with Cooper is the same as Brandon Convery. Will he be around for the stretch run? His presence is a very valuable asset to this club and has been ever since his demotion from Toronto. A stretch drive without him would be difficult indeed.
From our angle here, as you see, Cooper has all sorts of time as he gets to move towards the middle and let go the howitzer. That looks straight into me.
Straight in. One of the veterans on the team, Greg Smith, provides stability and leadership on the blue line. A physical player who can clear the front of the net, Smith got into trouble earlier in the season by trying to be the enforcer the team needed. When he can control his temper and play disciplined hockey, Greg can be among the better defensive defensemen in the league. On a fairly young team, his absences due to injury or suspensions have been keenly felt. One of the grittiest and most talented defensemen the Leafs have is Daniel Markov. Fearless in blocking shots, Markov can also lead a rush and is not afraid to drop the gloves with anyone. The type of player who exhibits a lot of heart, it should be only a matter of time before he makes it to the big league. He's one of the reasons why the Leafs defense has the potential to be among the AHL's best. If the Leafs make noise in the playoffs, you can be sure Markov will be a major reason. Barring a call-up or trade, Marcel Cousineau remains the #1 goalie on the Leafs, despite the excellent play of youngster Francis Larrabee. His experience and consistency have held this team in games they had no right being in. When it comes to getting into the playoffs and moving on, goaltending is perhaps the key element. With Cousineau between the pipes, the Leafs should have no problem in that area. On a team that's had difficulty scoring, the lack of production from Jason Podolin has been sorely felt. Known as a high scorer in junior, Podolin hasn't been able to carry that ability to the pros. 10 goals in the first half of the season is not what the Leafs organization were hoping for when they acquired him from Florida last year. A big, fast winger, if Podolin ever catches fire, he could turn the fortunes of this team around almost single-handedly.
You nearly got caught. Anyway, joining us now is Todd Gillingham. Before I get to Todd, because Todd gave me a smack upside the head there. Greg Smith, we're sorry. S-M-Y-T-H. We know that. We're sorry, right?
Yeah,
we're sorry. Okay.
Everything's okay now.
This is the hitman from the Humber, as Brendan introduced him. We talked about scouting and what went on now. Your hockey career started, you were born in Labrador City.
Yep.
I remember you from Corner Brook. You fill us in from what happened and how you got discovered, or what happened to bring you into the Brown.
Well, they have this program of excellence that still carries on now. And at that time, I got selected for Team Atlantic, which played in the World Under-17 Championships in Chicago. And from there, all the scouts were down watching the games, and I happened to get in contact with a few, and I was ended up drafted by the Verdun Junior Canadians. Went from there.
Okay, who's next?
Todd, when you had your tryout with Hartford this year, how did you feel when you found out that St. John's was looking to sign you again?
Well, I didn't know until after everything had gone down in Hartford, and I got my agent to make a few calls and that for me. I had been trying all summer to get back here, but because of the contract situations that they had here and the number of players that were in town, they had to make some moves and make room, and fortunate enough for myself, they were able to do that, and things worked out.
I mentioned on one of our shows a couple of before Christmas, anyway, early December, that before you were, or just after you were acquired, it was mentioned that you were acquired in the media. It must have been a good feeling for you, always a good feeling, knowing that no matter where you go, when you played in different leagues, different teams, the Leafs always want you.
Well, yeah, I mean, since I left after my second time back here, you know, I really didn't want to leave in the first place, but circumstances didn't permit me to stay here at the time. You know, they wanted to go in a different direction with things, and I also wanted to pursue other things that might have been better for my career at the time. And as it happened, you know, I tried to get back several times while I was gone, but it just wasn't able to work out. And I'm just happy to be back here now, and hopefully for a couple of years.
You were here, you were gone, now you're back again. From the time you were here, the Leaf hockey team came here, and you came back again. Have you seen a difference in the city, in the fans, and in the way things are going with the organization?
No, well, the obvious difference is the age difference. I mean, my first 2 times that I was here, the league wasn't considered a developmental league as of such at the time, and there wasn't a veteran rule that was in place. And because of that, there was a lot of older players that have played 5 or 6 years pro that were in the game, and that's probably the biggest difference that I saw at that point. When you do have those older players, I think they realize and understand their roles on a team and what it takes to make a team win and be successful. And I think that's why those first 2 years that we were here, that everyone knew their role and what they had to do, and things got along perfect.
What about around the city and the fan-wise? What are you seeing? Is the interest still there?
I think it is. I mean, our last 3 or 4 games that we've been home, we've had pretty good crowds. You know, they're still loud as they ever were, and when we're not doing well, they're not happy with us. So nothing's changed as far as I can see it that way.
Okay, you see a number on the screen. If you got a question from Todd, if you're from the West Coast or anywhere, give us a call, 753-7583, extension 252, and I'm sure you won't mind answering a few questions.
No, just as long as...
we don't put you on the spot.
I know one thing about Todd Gillingham is that it doesn't take you long to figure out situations with people, that you get a pretty good read on things fairly fast. When you came to this team, what was your read on it?
Well, I think I was brought in here for a reason. I was told that right up front. I mean, I didn't have to be told it, but I knew the reason that I was probably brought in was to help things out along in the dressing room and with the younger players, and to try to get these guys going and playing to the potential that they should be at. And sometimes it has to come from within the dressing room, and hopefully myself and another player like, I shouldn't say older, might get me in trouble, Greg Smith as well, can probably turn this thing around, and I think we're going in the right direction now, and I think this big homestand and with the number of games that we have at home from here on in is going to make a big difference, and we're going to be a team that's going to make a run at it.
You think this is the best team in the division, you told me the other night. You honestly, when you hold your little post-game court session there afterwards, you honestly believe this is the best team in the division?
I think it is by far. I mean, if you look at our team and the players that we have on paper and our toughness now and our goaltending and our goal scoring and our checkers, I think we've got the most balanced team probably in the whole division and in this whole conference. But I mean, there's a difference in having it all on paper and being a team. And right now that's what we're working at trying to do is to become a team. And a lot of the times it takes 3 or 4 months to find your identity and to know what direction you have to go in. And I think we're going there right now.
Okay, speaking of going there right now, we've got a person on the line, a caller for Todd Gillingham. Hello, caller.
Hello.
You've got a question for Todd.
Yeah, I have 2 questions, actually.
Okay, can you ask one at a time?
Yeah, okay. First question is, Todd, how do you feel about being back in town now? Are you happy to be back?
You know who this is?
Well, I'm ecstatic, Vinny, especially when I get to see you every night.
Question 2.
Do you think your team this year is good enough to get into the playoffs and, work your way through?
Yeah, we're definitely going to be in the playoffs. I mean, we're only a couple points out of it there right now, and we've only played 14 home games so far this year, and we've got 26 or 27 left to go. And once we get going here at home and get everyone happy and comfortable again, we're going to be a team to be reckoned with, I think.
Anything else?
All right, thanks a lot. Good luck.
Okay, thanks a lot. We didn't plant any calls. Did you plant that one? No, I didn't think so. Go ahead, Bob.
There's one more coming.
Todd, do you have aspirations of still going to the NHL?
Well, I think realistically, I realize that I probably never will. But I mean, as long as you play the game, you play it for a reason, and that's to play in the NHL. That's every young hockey player's dream. And as long as I'm playing and having fun and thinking that maybe one day I can get that one game, then yeah, I'm going to keep going at it.
So you mentioned you were brought in here for a specific reason, and obviously there's more to it than just roughing up a few players on the opposite team. You brought in for motivational factors and things like that. Maybe a career in coaching is not far away.
I don't know.
Not that your career
I mean,
on the ice is over.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's something that I'd like to get into one day, but I mean, that's a few years down the road, I think. I don't know what's going to happen in the next few years to come, but I certainly wouldn't mind doing that one day.
Okay, I think we've got another caller here, too. Maybe a question for Todd? Caller?
Yes.
Now go ahead.
Yeah, Todd, I was there at the last game, and what went through your mind when you went after the linesman?
What was on your mind when you went after the linesman? Is that what the question is?
Yes.
When I went after the linesman?
Hello? Hello?
Maybe it's a linesman on the phone.
Yes.
Is your question what he was thinking when he went after a linesman?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go after a linesman?
You didn't think which time it was.
I didn't think I did, no. If I did, I'd probably be getting suspended for it.
Maybe it's just talking to him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't pay your phone bill. It was a phone linesman or something like that.
Hello? Oh, yeah. Speaking of officials and stuff, I mean, linesmen that have a hard job, you get into some sort of altercation, these guys come in. Would you rather these guys jumped in at the start or let you do your business?
No, I mean, obviously you don't want them to come in at the start. You're trying to get something going or do whatever it is, but I mean, they can come in when it's time to get in, and they're pretty good about it. They know when to get involved and when to stay out.
I know what that caller was asking is when the puck was dropped the other night down at the stadium, and you said something to the linesman because the puck wasn't dropped properly.
That might have been
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to go to another caller. You're a little bit upset. Okay, hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello, there's, you got a question for Todd or a couple?
Yes, I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Todd, what do you think it's going to take for the Leafs to turn things around and possibly get to first place in their division?
Well, I think we're going pretty well right now. I mean, I know we haven't won a lot of games in the last 7 to 10, but we've had 4 or 5 ties in there, and we've been in every one, and we're just missing it by 1 or 2 goals every night here and there. And I think once we get that little extra 10% just going from everybody, that our team is going to be okay, and we're not in a desperate a situation as everybody may think at this point.
Okay, best of luck.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask something about that. It's my belief now that, you know, first place, it's almost a mistake to go for first place in the American Hockey League because, number one, statistically, it showed a first place team has never won the Calder Cup. In the 6 years I've covered them, the overall winner has been in the Calder Cup final only one time. It seems to me that the goal now is to get into the playoffs and let things fall where they may. I don't. Maybe that's sacrilegious against the idea that you win at all costs. But is that somewhere along the line? Have you I know the league's changed a little bit towards that direction since you've been away. But is there that attitude there now?
Well, no, I don't think that's attitude. I mean, every team wants to be at the top of their game all year long, and you want to finish in first to get home ice advantage and all the momentum that's going with it. But I think the big thing is that each team has to find a way to gel at a certain point.
End of March.
And that's the end of March. I mean, my 2 years here, we finished with 90 points one year and 110, I think, the year after that. And we went to the finals one year, but that, you know, they don't know who finishes second. But I just think the big thing is to gel at the same time and to get on a roll come February, March, and April, and that's the teams that make the difference.
That was a great team that third year. Maybe the best team we've ever seen out in the second round.
We're getting more callers than they get on an open line program, so we're going to go to the phone. Another question for Todd Gillingham. Hello.
Hi, I was wondering if Todd had a choice, stay with St. John's Maple Leafs until you got called up to the big leagues, would you stay with them?
If I had a choice to stay with the Leafs or go to the big leagues?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I'd be out of here in a heartbeat.
You got another question?
No.
Okay, thanks.
I didn't mean anything bad.
No.
I think she's a little disappointed.
Yeah, but I mean, let's face it, the reality is you want to go up and make the bucks and you want to play in your show. I mean, that's the reality there.
Todd, I just wanted to get back to the road to the playoffs and the makeup of the team right now. We've seen, Brendan and I have talked about this on a number of the broadcasts. We've seen the team oftentimes have a lead going into the second or third period, and then for some reason they'll sit back and allow the opposition to come to them, and all of a sudden a game that they had in hand all of a sudden ends up being a tie or a loss. And I'm wondering, is there a confidence factor here, or is there a lack of confidence on the team right now?
No, there's no lack of confidence, and when we do have a lead, you know, 3-2, 3-1, we don't sit back and let the team come. It may look like we're sitting back and letting the team come to us, but I mean, we're out there with one thing in mind. We're sitting in the dressing room between the second and third and on the bench, and we want these 2 points. Yeah. We're not just trying to play the game out, but that's what makes a team a championship team come March and April is learning those little mistakes that you make during the year, and come February and March, when you have a lead, you know you're not going to lose, and you find ways to win, and you know how to win. And the last 3 or 4 weeks, you know, we've given up goals in the second and third that have let teams back in hockey games, and we're still learning. I mean, we're a young team. We got a lot of players that are their first and second year, and it's a big difference jumping from junior to pro. And once we learn and all commit to the same thing, then those mistakes won't be happening.
Okay, we got another question, I understand, for Todd. Hello, caller. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Todd is here. Have you got a question?
Yeah, it was for Todd. I was wondering how does it feel like to be back in town?
I was really excited. I mean, if everyone would have known, probably just before I got here, I mean, I was in pretty desperate times. I didn't have a contract. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had tried everything I could to get back to St. John's, and I had about all but given up on it because they had a lot of players here and under contract. And the day that it did happen, I knew that it was going through. I didn't say it to anybody or let anyone know because it had fallen through, as Brendan would know, so many times before. So I was happier than anyone could ever imagine.
You got another question?
And that's it.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
You mentioned, not to jump ahead in topics, but we're going to talk about the Civic Center a bit down the road. You've played with a lot of different players here. Do the players in the dressing room and off the ice talk about the Civic Center?
No, I mean, that's not in the back of their heads at all. I mean, to be quite honest, we're pretty happy in the stadium. I mean, we've got a unique arena there, and we got a small ice surface with the fans right on top of you, and that doesn't happen in very many other rinks. And,
but wouldn't it be nice, though, to get maybe a couple more thousand people playing or in the crowd watching?
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure it would be, but I mean, that's out of our hands and out of our control. And you know, like a coach tells you many times, or a general manager, you're not paid to think. You get paid to go out and play, and not do anything else. And that's it.
I don't know if you get
It's
paid
as
to
simple as
think
it is.
or whatever, but I said you're a popular guy tonight. Okay, we got another phone call. Hello, caller.
Hi, I was wondering, what's it like playing back in St. John's?
Okay, for the 14th time.
Well, this is my third time, so every time it gets, you know, it's like, I guess, when Edmonton won 4 Stanley Cups and they ask them, you know, what's it like winning the Stanley Cup when it's their 4th time? There's always something different about it, and this time was pretty special because it was the first time that I've been back since my father had passed away, and it was something that I always wanted to do, was to come back, and I'm glad that I was given the opportunity to come back here and to be part of this organization again, and hopefully stay with them for a few more years.
You have another question?
All right, good luck in your game tomorrow
Thanks.
night, huh? All right, bye.
Okay.
They better beep in and find out who's beeping in. They got a long distance.
Okay,
call.
well, we're going to ask you, will you stay around for a few minutes? We might get a few more calls, you know?
Yeah, okay.
You don't have to go be to bed too early tonight.
No.
Okay, we'll be back with...
I got a 10 o'clock curfew.
Okay, well,
also.
we'll get you out of here by 9:59. Don't worry about it. We'll be back with Todd and Brendan and Randy and Bob right after this time out.
You're watching Cable 9, your community channel.
The strength and conditioning coach, it's new in pro hockey, especially in the NHL, probably you say the last 5 or 6 years. Do you think this will be a big thing with every NHL team?
Well, right now it is a big thing for every team. Big emphasis is put on conditioning, not just during the season, but for the off season as well, when you try to do a lot of work and improve on the weaknesses of the players. And that's why I was brought in here to work with the young guys, develop a program, do a player profile of each player, and find out what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, and develop a personalized program for each player and continue that through the summer.
Okay, we're back with Todd Gillingham here at Cable 9, your community channel, and somebody's trying to fall asleep here tonight, so he's just waking up. You know, look, you notice the hands and...
Few feathers
play with him
ruffling
during or
there.
after the games? Do you take him in and beat him up or something? He's loose tonight, there's something wrong, right?
Stay away from him.
I bet you do. Are you going back to Bacaloo Island or wherever the boys are?
I hope this doesn't mean this show's going to the birds.
Well, he's going to be on the show. He might be hosting, yes?
Yeah.
That's the way I feel too. every week, buddy.
When does pumpkin season start? We'll stay off of that one.
I can get Joe Mullen back with you. Okay, you can go now. I'll see you. Take it easy. He's a cameraman tonight. Anyhow, we got another caller on the line, and it's the popularity after the Christmas season. You're more popular than Santa Claus. We have a caller on the line. Hello, caller.
How you doing, Mr. Gillingham?
Hello, go ahead.
Hello.
I'm glad to see you back, Mr. Gillingham.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, well, do you have any habits before the game?
Do I have any before the game?
Any habits?
Well, I'm a bit different than most of the players. Most of them like to go home after their pregame practice and have their meal and have a nap for 3 or 4 hours. But I usually stay up in the afternoons and head to the rink probably around 3:30, 3:45, and I'm there till game time then.
Are you glad you're back in Newfoundland?
Yeah, very glad.
You know what's the soap opera?
What do you think of the fans?
Oh, they're great. They always have been, and hopefully they'll keep on coming out here now during this big homestand, and we can get some wins for them and give them something to cheer about.
Yeah, I hope you make the playoffs because you got a good young team, you know.
Oh, we'll make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go to the line again. I think we've got another call there. Hello. No caller. All right. Well,
Actually, Todd, of all the fights that you've had over the years here in St. John's, who was the toughest fight you had?
God, I wouldn't be able to.
The linesman again.
I don't know where to be able to start. I don't know, probably Kevin McCullen.
Oh, yeah.
Probably, yeah.
I'll tell you something, and Ed mentioned
You let me
tonight,
know.
and we were talking about it while we were on the commercial. Everybody talks system. Now, to me, the system seems to be get the puck out of your own zone and get into the other zone. When you talk system, is there something you do different than than any other team?
Well, yeah. Of course, every team has a system. I mean, the systems that you forecheck, the way you back check, your systems on your power play, penalty calling. There's, every team has their own different way that they go about it, and we have our certain system, and that's what we try to work at, and we hope that's going to make us successful.
Do you pick up another team system when you're on the road? Do you watch for that and see how they do things?
Yeah, they get the videotapes, and they call ahead and talk to other teams, coaches and general managers in the division of teams that we're playing against, and they're always more than helpful because they want us to take 2 points from a team in their own division, and they let us know what to look for in systems and what they're going to be throwing at you.
Okay, we're going back to the line again, and we've got a caller on the line. Hello, caller.
Hi, Todd.
Hello.
Everyone in St. John's knows you as a fighter. Do you like to be known as a fighter, or do you like to be known as a hero?
As a what?
As a hero.
No, hero, God, yeah. I don't think that. No, I mean, I don't only know how to play the game one way, and that's the same way I've played it, my whole career, and that's hard, and try to play with a lot of emotion and fire, and sometimes when that happens, the gloves end up having to come off, and it's not a part of the game that I love to do, but it's something that gets me into the game and gets all the other players going on the bench at certain times, and it's just part of the game.
Good luck to the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Bye.
What's the main difference you find from your junior career and in the AHL? With your own play?
With my own play? I don't think there's been much to change, really. I mean, I still kind of put up the same numbers, and the penalty minutes are still there every year, and I still try to play the same style that I did back then when I was 17.
What little things for minor hockey players that are watching could you tell them to concentrate on in their young career that might help them towards getting a pro career?
I mean, the only thing probably that I would tell a kid is, just believe in yourself, and if this is something that you really want to do, and you want to be a hockey player, and hopefully maybe one day play in the NHL, is to keep believing no matter what happens to you along the line, and someday something always happens because every dog ends up having his day out there.
I can't wait for my day to come along.
I'd
Going back to the line.
also like to throw in, don't fall asleep on a bus.
No.
That's another key rule for hockey players.
Going back to the telephone lines again, this is an inside joke. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, Todd, what is the most point in your career you remember the most?
The most exciting since I've been in pro hockey.
You say the highlight of your whole career.
Yeah. Well, I guess probably my whole career to highlight would be playing in the Montreal Forum and Quebec Ontario All-Star game, and probably in pro hockey it would be scoring the overtime winner against Cape Breton my rookie year in the playoffs.
So you shaking your head over to Brendan?
I remember that when your parents were there for that
Yeah,
game, and they,
yeah,
had,
they had to
never
leave.
saw their
They
goal
didn't
because
get-
they
they
had
had
to
to
make
catch
the
the
ferry.
boat.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going back to the phone lines again. Hello, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Todd.
Yes.
There's a question for you.
Okay.
The night Terry Ron scored the winning goal that night, what was your reaction in the dressing room after the game?
The reaction that he scored?
Yeah.
From
the fans, yeah.
Oh, what was the players? How did the players think about the fans?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, coming from myself, I can understand the reaction because I know what type of people Newfoundlanders are and how close-knit they are and how they stick together for each other and stick up for each other. And I understood exactly where they were coming from. But I think from the players' standpoint, it probably let them down a little bit because, you know, they had hoping that their fans are behind them and they're giving their 110%. And for them to see the hometown crowd turn around and cheer for another team's winning goal, it probably took a little bit of wind out of them and upset them a little bit. But they realized after what went on, the significance behind it all, and it was all just water under the bridge after that.
Well, I suppose to a lot of people who, like you say, are not used to it, is the fans, we don't get 50 or 60 or 200 bodies going to the NHL, and when you see a kid like Terry Ryan or yourself with an opposing team scoring a goal, then you're bound to get cheered.
Yeah, I mean, I understood it completely. I don't think it was that big a deal, but at the same time, I mean, the guys are there playing for the city and playing for the people in the stands, and it just kind of got to them a little bit.
A couple of nights later, what about Dougie Gilmore?
Yeah. Did you ever think about bringing it up before the game? Did you ever think, well, maybe I'll mention that? I mean, if no one here is surprised, but if Ryan scores, don't be surprised if he gets an applause here, guys, and don't take it too seriously.
No, we didn't really think. I think the whole thing might have got blown out a little bit because it was such an intense game, and the game was played pretty hard, and the emotions were really high after the game, and I think that probably was what set it off the most.
Okay, we're going back to the telephone lines again. Another question for Todd. Hello, caller.
Yeah, how you doing, Todd?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad.
Good.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what's your relationship with your teammate, Warren Norris, and what do you think about his lack of play this year? Do you think it's hurting his confidence level at all, or?
What do you mean with, well, in terms of relationship, me and Warren room together on the road, and I mean, he's kind of in the same situation I was when I first turned pro. Not when I first came here. When I first turned pro, I ended up sitting out my first 20 games, and you know, it gets discouraging at times, especially Warren when he was here. He came in last year, and I think he was hoping for a little more of a chance to play, but I mean, he just got to keep working hard, and he'll get his chance. I mean, he works harder than probably anybody else on the team on and off the ice, and he'll get his chance one day, and I'm sure he won't disappoint anybody by it.
Todd, just a personal question, if I may. I remember you had great success with Yannick Perreault in junior hockey. You had great success with Yannick Perreault here in St. John's. Yannick, of course, is starting to really come into his own now in the NHL. Just wondering, do you keep in touch with him at all?
Well, I've been in California the last 3 years, and he has been there the last 2. So, yeah, we live just down the road from each other, and we used to get together probably once every 2 weeks and just go out for dinner and just talk over old things and hang out together. But as of right now, the last year or so, no.
Okay, we're going back to the phone lines again. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hi.
Good. Your question for Todd?
Yeah, I got 2 questions, actually. Todd, first question. Just want your impression. What do you think of these guys in the AHL who are wearing these full face masks, and they're the type of guys that get in your face and taunt you? You can't really drop the gloves on. What do you want to do?
Well, I don't know if there's a lot of...
Smack him on the table, mistake, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know of too many that do wear the full face mask. I mean, you get a couple with the half visor and...
Well, specifically, there's one guy on Fredericton.
One guy on Fredericton.
Do you remember a name?
Might have been Jason.
Who would that be?
I can't remember the guy's name, sorry.
Oh, I
think he was protecting an injury, though, at that time.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
probably most of the guys that do wear the full face ones are protecting some kind of injury, so, I mean, you
that
try
was
to be
Nathan
the
Lafayette, by the way.
Okay.
He had a broken cheekbone, by the
Yeah.
way. That was Nathan Lafayette, yeah.
Your second question. Hello? Don.
That's even worse, though, when a player's got an injury and he's wearing the full face shield and he's still taunting you, right?
Yeah, I mean, that can get on
Did you
your
play with that
nerves
in
a little
junior?
bit. Yes, I did.
And how
It's
come
mandatory
we
then.
don't see guys going from junior and continuing on wearing it into the pros? You know, I mean, if you're used to it playing coming up through the system, how come when you get to the AHL you don't keep it?
Can't
But you're
wear a
now.
full face
Okay.
mask.
But I mean, you're forced to wear it in junior.
You're forced to because of the Quebec medical lot.
Okay. It's
That's
an
why you're
insurance
forced
thing,
to work
isn't
in
it?
Quebec.
It's all an insurance thing, right?
That's all it is in Quebec.
Well, sure, now where they're wearing the half visor and they've got it up on their forehead anyway. You know,
Yeah.
it's,
Sure, yeah.
Okay, back to the phone lines again. Hello, caller.
Hi, Todd.
Yes.
I wonder if you could tell me who you consider your best coach you played for and why.
God, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I guess I would probably have to say Mark Crawford would probably have been my best coach because he gave me the opportunity my first year to play, and even though he was pretty hard in that on me, I think he got a lot out of me and taught me a lot about the pro game and the pro level. And but I've been fortunate to have a lot of good coaches over the year and over my career, and I don't really know if I can put one out higher than the other.
It's always your present one. Is your,
Yeah,
right?
it's always safe.
Now, you played a lot recently in the I. What's the difference between the I and the AHL?
Probably, I think probably the biggest difference is not that players are a lot older and softer. I think the difference is kind of like when you make the jump from the American Hockey League to the NHL. I mean, players know what their role is, where they're supposed to be on the ice, their positioning, and what they have to do on that team. And the game is a little more controlled. There's not so much running around and scrambling in your own end and in the other team's end. And I think that's probably the biggest difference in the I and the A right now.
Like, we've watched a few games on TV, and it seems like the I is more commercialized than the American Hockey League, too, right?
Well, I mean, you're playing in cities like Los Angeles and Atlanta and Chicago and Detroit. I mean, they're there to make big money, and they play in 20,000-seat arenas and get 16,000 people. So, I mean, it's going to be more commercialized in that effect because they're independent running a business. They're not there to develop hockey players or get them ready for their parent club. They're there to make money and to win at that point in time.
But does that make a difference in hockey, you know, the developmental league, or do they attract more fans than, say, the AHL?
Some cities do. The bigger, I mean, if you look at the Detroit Vipers or Chicago Wolves in the I, I mean, they average 15, 16,000 fans.
Now,
So
that reminds me, too, there's a player playing in Pittsburgh now that was a fan. Randy was a fan of him, Rob Brown. You saw him a lot in the IHL, I guess. What, in your mind, what was the reason why he wasn't in the NHL for so long?
I mean, he could have played in the NHL probably the last 4 or 5 years, but it depends what they want you for and when they want you. I mean, if they wanted him to play 6 years ago or wanted him to stay there, he still would have been there.
But anybody could have signed him as a free agent. There must have been something about his game or his
Maybe
attitude.
nobody maybe no one needed a goal scorer at that time or figured there was a need of it, you know?
Okay, we're going to get one more phone call for Todd because he's got to leave us, and we're more than appreciative for him and Marcel coming here tonight. Okay, hello, caller.
Yes, Todd.
Yes.
Who's the toughest player you've ever faced in an AHL game?
The toughest player I've ever faced?
Yes.
God. I don't know. I mean, probably, I would probably say maybe Link Gates. Someone, or probably that whole Cape Breton team that year. I mean, they had 5 or 6, 7 or 8.
Before.
So when you fought him, did you win the fight?
No, I didn't.
Gilly had the great line when he came here. I remember asking him, "Do you fight?" And Gilly said, "No, but I go a lot."
Yeah.
And that was an honest response.
Yeah. As honest as you'll get.
Not a bad ball player. Anyhow, we got to move on now. We say goodbye to Brendan and Todd, and we thank you, sir, for coming by. It's great to see you. Hopefully
Thank
we'll see you
you.
at St. Pat's this summer.
I don't know
You're
about
going to be
that.
out at Jubilee Field.
Well, maybe if we come in to win the provincials. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak to that. Anyhow, a guy who looks after public relations, and Todd knows about him and everybody, is Chris Swartz. And boy, he does a fantastic job. But you think Chris just goes to work in the nighttime and at the games. Not the case. Susan Bonnell, who's the producer of this show, took her video camera down to the stadium and to his office. And here's his profile of Chris Swartz, the public relations guy with the St. John's Maple Leafs.
St. John's Maple Leafs? Yes. Hi, how are you? Oh, gotcha. Yep. Okay. But you still might be able, I'll tell you what we can do though. I know Carolyn might have access to a color printer where she can save the file and then bring it over somewhere else for you. Yeah, okay. When is it? Is it supposed to be, do you know when they're sending it? Well, during the weekdays, it's pretty much, you know, a 9 to 5 job from 9 to 5, and then after that, you're down to the rink from 5 to 11. That's during the week because we're all just working from Monday to Friday. But during the weekends, I usually come in around, you know, between 10 and 11 o'clock. Usually, you know, the middle there, 10:30, I get in and I stick around here and get all my stats and my media packs done till about Takes me till about 2:30 or so. It gives me an hour to go home, grab a shower. I'm usually back here by 3:30 or 4 o'clock, and again, I'm back down to the rink at 5. So usually, like, the weekends are a little less, they're a little less hectic. They're more casual, as you can kind of see with me today here. But the game day itself is so structured that from this hour to this hour, you know exactly what you're doing. Usually do about 35 to play on the safe side. I got to. Our team gets anywhere from 5 to 7 for the coaches and the players, and then the other team gets probably 5 or 7. And then it's really to look after everybody up in the press box and our announcers and Brendan and Randy up in the broadcast booth and anybody else with cable who needs a set. So kind of do a little more than what you actually need, but I'd rather have more than enough than not have enough at all. This is the easy part of the job. Well, we're crossing our fingers. Just seeing what happens. So we're all on the phone. I think if the phone could be grown out of our ear, I think that's what we'd rather have, rather than going back and forth. It's like I said, on a game day, you try to help people as much as you can. I think all of us do the best we can here, but again, where there's a non-game day, there's certain things that, or on a game day, there's certain things that you have to get done in a certain amount of time. So it's really the non-game days that you can kind of look after all your phone calls and all your requests and everything else. And you know, if worst comes to worst, you're just trying to get in touch with people at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening, just making sure you can return your phone calls all the time. It's downtime now. It's waiting for the game to get going. This is my favorite part of the day. It's where there's nobody up around here. It gives you a chance to half an hour to recoup and make sure you got everything else done for the rest of the night. It's just a bit relaxing, and then kind of 6 o'clock, 6:30 or so, that's when everyone starts showing up. And then it still gives you a chance to kick back because you're watching the game most of the night, but you know, it's still a little bit more. You're a little bit more on the run as the game goes on. So it's just a chance to collect your thoughts and again, like I said, just to make sure you got everything done on your checklist before the game gets going. When the team goes on the road, especially for an extended period of time, it kind of gives us a chance to clean house here and for everybody to get back on track. And to be honest with you, when they're gone an extended period of time, by the time, like if they're gone for 3 weeks, by the time you hit that last week, you are looking forward to them getting back and getting into a normal routine. So it's kind of like a give and take situation where it's nice to see them go in the beginning, but then it's nice to see them come on back when the road trip's over. I didn't even see your article. I never had a chance to read it today, though. Okay. Media in St. John's are pretty cooperative, I can tell you that. I know the guys, they have to write what they have to write or broadcast what they have to broadcast, but for the most part, they're pretty supportive of the team. There's not too much negativity that they write about or talk about, which kind of makes my job a little easier. I think challenging is just dealing with so many different people, and you're always trying to make people happy. You're trying to keep people up to date on what's going on. I know for myself, and I mean, for myself and Michelle, we're dealing with 20 to 25 guys in the dressing room all the time, each with different requests, and each with different personalities. So you're not dealing with the same type of people all the time. So you kind of got to learn how to handle different types of situations. Chris to Michelle.
Go ahead.
No, just checking. You got me there, hey?
Got you loud and clear. Chris, do you know who's starting the game tonight?
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it's Cousie. But I'll double check there for you with Donnie now, okay?
Okay, thanks.
And And I'll give you a warning tonight, too?
I'll wait for the second go.
Okay. Donnie, Cousie starting? Okay. Michelle?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Cousie's starting, okay?
Pardon me, Cousie is ready?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, great.
First to Michelle, Cousie's coming through there now. Yeah, give her there now. Give her. Let's go, Cousie. Let's go, Deej. Let's go, Gilly. Let's go, Worsey. Let's go, Clayton. Let's go, Bunsey.
Okay, fans, wave those flags. Let me see who we got.
St. John's Maple Leafs and St. John Flames. It's 2-0 Maple Leafs, Newfoundland. 7.5 left in the first. Okay, thanks.
Pylon, Tony, you can go down to that pylon, and the small woods can go down to this pylon right here.
Go to the pylon?
Yeah, okay, and just listen to Bob. He'll guide you right through it. Thank you.
And receive a nice prize from Ultramar. Now let's meet our teams. All people here will be cheering for.
Are you guys going to cheer? Because that's your brother, and you guys could win if he wins, right? Okay. Let's come out here, and I'll let you know when. Guys, that was a real good effort. Real good.
Okay, I'll run down, actually. I got to run over there, and then I'll run down and get some of that for you. Yeah. It's going to sound a little weird, but I mean, the bottom line is I really love what I'm doing. So it's not really, to be honest, there's not really anything that I don't like about my job. I mean, I can honestly say that every morning I get up, I love coming into work. At this point, there's nothing. I know, like, there's certain days where things will happen. I'm like, oh, here we go again. But, you know, overall, there's really no one point that I can really say I don't enjoy. There's, you know, that's something that, I don't like doing, because whether it's updating my stats or dealing with guys in the dressing room or doing a new program or dealing with Toronto, it's, I enjoy every minute of it.
Okay, we're back here on Sports Plus here on Cable 9, your community channel, and joining us now are the chairman and the vice chairman of the St. John's Maple Leafs. To my far right is Danny Williams, who is the vice chairman of the St. John's Maple Leafs. And to my immediate right is Mike Donovan, who is the chairman of the St. John's Maple Leafs. And Mike, I suppose the first question to ask is, the Maple Leafs are here. How did they get here, and how come we got a franchise? Oh, sorry, wait, no. Are you Danny's brother, twin brother? No, you are.
He won't go away.
Huh? He works for you?
Yeah.
He does? Yeah. I thought so.
I heard he works for Chicken Feed, though.
Don't blame me. I didn't do it. See you, buddy.
See you, buddy.
Uh-oh. No droppings, please. All right, back to where we were before we got interrupted. How did the franchise get here?
Well, I think it's been a long road. If you remember back to the city's credit, at the time, the city took the initiative in looking to try to get a professional hockey franchise here, and had talked to various organizations, and then convinced Toronto at the time that was a good move to move from Newmarket to here. And Danny and I were lucky enough to get on that first board, and I think had a lot of fun putting together an organization in the beginning, and as you know, 6 years have passed in a hurry. We've had a lot of fun, and I think it's been great for the city. But certainly, I think from Toronto's point, from their point, we've provided a first-class organization here, and great hockey fans, and a great city to develop players.
Has it been a struggle, Mike?
Not really. I think for me personally, I can't speak for anybody else, it's been a labor of love. I really enjoyed being involved, and I think have taken great pride in watching a franchise grow, and I think watch the development of St. John's in the American Hockey League. I mean, we got involved first, and we were the new kids on the block. No one knew where St. John's was, and it's really interesting now to watch the respect that the league has for this organization, that the league has for Glenn Stanford, who runs our business, and we've come a long way as a community. This is now the favorite place for players to visit, and as Danny knows, in the beginning we had a tough time getting people to come here.
Okay, we've gone through the past, Danny. What does the future hold for the franchise?
Well, it's very much up in the air, Carl. The Leafs want to stay here. I'm sure Mike will agree. Overall, they want to stay. The Civic Centre is an issue at the end of the day. They've made it publicly known that if there isn't a new facility here, that then they won't stay beyond the extension of the term of the contract. They do want to stay. It's going to be a question of price. I think a few years ago we would have gotten the Leafs probably a lot cheaper than we would get them now. The value of a franchise has gone up, and of course they've realised the value of their franchise to us, and that makes the price tag a little more expensive. I'm optimistic though. I think the Leafs will be here. I think there will be a new Civic Centre at the end of the day, and I think the Leafs will be playing in that Civic Centre, but it won't be without a lot of tough negotiation, let me tell you.
But when you mention franchise fee going up and cost and that, it almost seems like somebody's saying we're being held ransom or we're being held a gun to our heads.
Well, a few years ago we had an opportunity there to sort of seize it. They were offering a 10-year contract at the time. Bill Waters, who's been a great ally of the board, and myself and Mike and the city throughout, was solidly on sides to deliver a long-term contract. Then a lot of dynamics happened in Toronto for things that were out of our control as well, apart from sort of the tumult, I guess, that we were going through here in the city with regard to trying to get a civic centre underway. But then the dynamic changed, and because they're now going through the whole upheaval up there, where they're going to have their the new gardens or the new arena up in Toronto, there's a lot of things changing. The Fletcher is gone. The board, there's been changes in the board. There's control moves that are going on up there. So it's not completely Bill's agenda right now. It's a different agenda. So I think the Maple Leafs see that they're valuable to St. John's. They realise their value to a new civic centre, and as a result, it's a business proposition, and I think that's why the price has gone up. Is that fair, Mike?
Well, I think so, and I think, as Danny says, I mean, I'm optimistic. I feel much better from what I hear lately about a civic centre being built, but I also feel that one thing that this organisation has done well at this level is that we got a great relationship with the league, number one, and have, I think, a special relationship with Toronto. And it should be obvious to hockey fans here that you can notice a difference this year in the Maple Leaf organisation since Ken Dryden came in. There's very little movement of players back and forth. I think you're going to see a lot of work done on developmental in the next couple of years, but I think it's down to negotiations. I'm like Danny. I believe they want to stay here. There's a lot of value in this franchise. There's two ways to look at it. Certainly, I think Toronto would like to stay here. I'm of the belief that there's not a lot of cities give them the support that we would give them on this end. We run a first-class operation, and the bottom line is going to be how well we negotiate. I think that's going to be the key.
As you see the number on your screen, 753-7583, extension 252, and we have got a caller on the line. And caller, you got a question for Danny or Mike?
Yeah, when are you going to be building your new arena?
Hey boys, here you go. Go ahead. Who wants it?
Go ahead, Danny.
Well, I mean, hopefully there may be some ground broken this year. There's a non-profit organisation that's been formed in the city to get on with the business of building a civic centre. The philosophy is, we're going to build a centre which is going to be an all-purpose centre for the city, not necessarily a hockey rink. That's in the works. I understand that there's been more than a half dozen proposals that have been sent in. They're going to shortlist it down to 3, and then they're going to pick a site. They're going to call tenders, and they're going to proceed from there. So hopefully there would be a completion date late in '99. So before the turn of the century is the goal. From the political side, it appears that the provincial government is on sides to put in at least the funding they've already promised, plus more funding. There's talk that the federal government is going to come on sides with some equal funding. City council certainly seems to be on sides. I think there's more than a majority down there. I think there's nearly a consensus right from the top down that a civic centre is needed. There is the caution, of course, that it can't be done on the taxpayers' back. And this group hopes to build this civic centre debt-free. That's optimistic, but if that can be achieved, then that would be wonderful. And we'd have it before the turn of the century.
Danny, Mike was saying earlier that, when the St. John's Maple Leafs first came into the league, a lot of people didn't know where the heck St. John's was. And I wanted you to touch on it for a moment. What kind of a marketing tool that the St. John's Maple Leafs have been for this city?
It's been fabulous. It was the first year that really got us on the map. The year we had the run at the Calder Cup, and we went to the 7th game. At that time, of course, Channel 9 was carrying the games, and CNN actually picked up the coverage of that 7th game. It went, I think, CNN did actually clips of the game. The coverage itself on the satellite went across the country as far west as at least Manitoba, went all the way down the eastern seaboard, and it was seen nearly as far down as Florida. So we got a lot of North American exposure. We got a lot of European exposure. But more importantly, all the teams coming and going through the city, and Mike has seen it, of course, from the meetings in Hilton Head, the rapport now that St. John's has and the awareness of St. John's and Newfoundland among all the AHL teams is absolutely wonderful. And you can't buy that kind of exposure. I mean, tourism is the biggest industry in the world right now, and it's growing. And anything we can do to draw attention to this city and this province, the Leafs have probably done more than anything else in this city in a long, long while, Mike, I think.
Well, I don't think there's no question about that. There's lots of ways you look at a professional franchise, and one of the benefits, and I think the city saw that right from the beginning, is a tremendous tool to market your city. And if you look at, I go back to, like Danny mentioned, the meetings in Hilton Head every year, where all the National Hockey League people go. When we started out going there 6 and 7 years ago, I mean, nobody knew where St. John's was, and we were the little people sitting behind the table, and all that's changed dramatically. We go down there every year. Every second year we have Newfoundland Night. Everybody in the National Hockey League comes. They acknowledge that outside of the expense of getting here is everybody's favorite city to visit, but anytime you got a team visiting and the league has grown. I mean, hockey has grown rapidly in the States. The American Hockey League is the main developmental league for the NHL. It will continue to grow. And now you have a team from St. John's, Newfoundland, traveling all throughout, not on the eastern seaboard of the United States, but we're reaching far south now. So we've become very, very successful in marketing the city as far as I'm concerned.
Before we go to the phones, I want to mention to people that usually this program Homemade Jam is on, and it'll follow this Sports Plus special. We're just trying to stir a different pot here tonight. Pardon the fun. Anyhow, we're going to another caller. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hi.
Hello there. You have a question for Danny or Mike?
Okay, I'll ask Danny, I guess. I'm wondering, perhaps when we get our new Civic Center, do you think we'll see a intra-squad game between Toronto and St. John's, maybe as a charity event?
Yeah, actually, Bill Waters promised that to us 2 years ago when we were sort of in the process and we thought that a Civic Centre might happen. In those days, Bill basically indicated to myself and Mike that the first season that it opened in the new centre, that he would bring in Toronto and Montreal. What he would probably do is bring the Leafs training camp down here for a week, and then he would have a back-to-back exhibition games between Toronto and Montreal. So that's a definite commitment from the Leafs. If we get a new Civic Centre and the franchises here, there's no doubt that we will see pro exhibition games here.
What did you guys think when Cliff Fletcher was ousted? Did you think that was going to be bad news for St. John's, and maybe good news that Bill Waters remained?
Certainly good news that Bill Waters remained. I mean, he's been the ally from this franchise from day one, and Bill sometimes can be blustering, comes out and makes statements he probably shouldn't say, but deep down, Danny and I both know he's a strong supporter and always has been, and was very important for us that he stay on because he's been the guy right from day one, and even with things changing in Toronto right now, he's still the guy out front and a big-time supporter of this particular franchise.
Bill was actually instrumental in getting Gilly back this year, and was a big player in that. And it was one more thing, Carol, it's interesting that Cliff was actually instrumental in Frank Biolowa's not coming back here. There was an opportunity a couple of years ago, and we had an opportunity to get Frank back, and Frank had indicated he wanted to come back. That was before he went to Philly, and it was Cliff who blocked that one. So we've certainly been left, from my perspective, we've certainly been left with the best of the two.
Danny, yourself and Mike, you're both down the games. I walk around the stadium when I'm doing a game on Cable 9 beforehand to talk to people. It's come to the point people have reached the ticked-off stage. It's either get the Civic Centre started, get something done, turn the ground, do something. And to what people may say that, you know, we don't need this franchise, which is a lot of bunkum, but you talk to the people at the stadium, will you give us something decent that we can come and sit down and watch a game and bring in 6,000 people? You know, when is this going to stop? Well, we're hoping this year, we're hoping that year. This is what you heard at the stadium. When are we going to get this? When is something going to be done?
But Carol, it's interesting, when you're in the stadium, though, you're talking to the hardcore hockey fans. Sure. But more importantly, there was a survey done by the Telegram a while ago, and there's been some argument that the yes side sort of padded that a bit, and of course the yes side did their homework on it, but that turned out that there was 80% in favour of a Civic Centre. We sent up a sample 100 questionnaires up to Gonzaga High School just to see what the youth did, sort of untampered with, nothing at all, it was just basically sent up pure. We got back the same result, 80 out of 100. It appears from the studies that we've done that there's at least 2 out of 3 people in the city that want this. So there is a majority, and you could see that political will happening in the last council election. So everybody realised that this should happen. And as a result of that, I think we are going to see it. And it's, as I said, I think it's going to happen within the next 2 years. I think everybody realizes the importance. But, you know, the people who have the contrary view are quite right in saying, look, they're concerned. They can't be on the back of Mrs. Murphy down on Bond Street, whose taxes are maybe high enough. So we have to find a way, and we've all attempted to try and find a way whereby the business community can participate, governments would kick in, the hotels would kick in, the stadium subsidy could kick in. There's lots of ways of building a civic centre without having to do it on the backs of the taxpayers. I think that's key to it.
Okay, back to the phone lines we go. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, when the Leafs contract is over, are you guys going to sign a new one?
I think the answer to that is that we hope to have a positive announcement on the Civic Centre sometime in I think before the end of, being optimistic, before the end of February. When that happens, then we can start negotiating with Toronto. I think the reality with Toronto is no building, no negotiation, and the league are in the same position. I think the reality with a new building is not only more seats, there's regulation ice surface. And for fans who are looking in, I mean, we have not found, I mean, I know people will talk sometimes about interest, is the interest the same? We got spoiled a bit the first couple of years because we had, I mean, the second and third year, we had teams here that were better than a couple of the expansion teams in the NHL. But generally speaking, with a new building, you have the resources then to do a lot more. And a good example this year, when you get more cooperation, is, you know, as Danny knows, Todd Gillingham is a good example of someone who we wanted to get back here for a couple of years. Great guy, wanted to come back, plays the game with passion. If you're playing in Newfoundland, one of the things in Newfoundland is people respect to someone who plays hard. You don't have to fight all the time. You have to play hard, play the game with passion. And that's what Todd has brought back. And I think with a new building, with a larger ice surface, with more people in the stands, I think, Danny, we have the opportunity ourselves to go after people like that and put pressure on Toronto, who's trying to bring a couple of people in. And that's the difference in the organization this year since Cliff is out. Last year, Todd Gillingham would not be back here. I think that's a fair assessment. And so we see more cooperation, and I like this team. This team is starting to get better.
Carol, one more thing too. Mike raised an interesting point. If we here locally had the ability to add the last 4 players in the lineup, you could put in that component that the St. John's and the Newfoundland fan likes, and that could be very important. If we could only get some say into that, that would be an important part of a future negotiation.
That may be something down the road that was discussed, I heard, one night at the stadium. Anyway, hello, caller.
Hi.
You got a call for or a question for Danny or Mike?
Yeah, I was wondering what would happen to the baby Leafs if you don't get the new stadium.
Very simple, they're gone.
Yeah, that's not a difficult one to answer. They're not here. I mean, it makes no sense for us financially, number one, to keep playing out of a small building. I mean, we've maxed out on revenues two and a half years ago, Danny. I mean, if you go into that building now, I mean, the first thing people will respond to when they come in the building from the mainland is look inside and look at the signage. I mean, Glenn Stanford has sold everything in the stadium that can be sold. So we can't get any more revenue. And if you look at a bigger building and you look at the possibilities out there with a bigger building, we have an unbelievable demand now. Little things, kids' birthday parties. I mean, they're phoning every day, want to come in. I mean, we can't bring minor hockey league teams. We can't really run promotions all the time because we have no seats. So there's lots of opportunities to grow and develop. And there's no question, I think, that people should realize, like Danny mentioned, a new contract would be negotiated differently with a bigger building. And we'd have the ability, I think, to add a couple of ingredients that people here like to see. And this is exceptionally good hockey. It's better hockey than people have been spoiled of it, I think, Danny. I mean, it's better hockey than people realize, and not much difference between this and NHL.
Okay, back to the telephones we go again. Hello.
Yeah, hi. I'd just like to ask Mr. Williams, if a new civic centre is so viable, why hasn't private enterprise built one?
Well, I think I've explained this before, and it's a very, very good question. You see, most civic centres on their own are not viable. You can get stats on most centres across the country which will show you that on a day-to-day operational basis they don't make money. Where the money comes is from the spin-off revenues, and that's where we really hit it. Like in Halifax 2 years ago, there was $80 million worth of spin-off revenues which just came from their Halifax Metro Centre, is that what it's called?
Yes. Yeah.
As well, you get events like the Briar. The Briar in Halifax gave another $7.3 million to the city. The Briar out in Red Deer, they had a junior hockey tournament. They also had a Briar out in Alberta as well. That raised, I think, $13 million for the city and $20 million for the province. So it all comes from the spin-off, and I could go on for a long while. The taxis, the hotels, the bars, all the revenue that comes from the events that go on there. But the building itself doesn't make money. The point being is that, if, for example, if myself and Mike had enough money to go down and build this civic centre, we would have to then have the benefit of getting all the spin-off revenues from all the other enterprises. We'd have to own Greensleeves, and we'd have to own Ben's, and we'd have to own Hotel Taxi, and we'd have to own the hotel, because that's where you get the money that makes the whole project viable. That's a role that has to be played by government. They have to be involved in there because they're the ones that can get the tax base or to assist in the construction of the building in order to make it happen. But if it was a one-horse town or a one-person town who owned all the business in the town, you could make it work. But it's the spin-off that's the benefit from the Civic Centre.
Interesting when he mentions Hotel Taxi. There's finally somebody on the show nearly as old as me. Anyhow, back we go to the phone lines. Hello, caller.
Yes, I just had a quick question. Just assuming for a minute that we did lose the St. John's Maple Leafs, what other type of hockey could we maybe anticipate seeing?
I think obviously if you can't attract an American Hockey League franchise, the only other alternative would be to look at a major Junior A franchise and look at obviously I think a junior franchise in the Quebec League. But that brings other problems. I mean, one of the things that professional sports does is bring in major money when it comes to corporate partners, and I don't know if you could attract the same money with a junior franchise, and it would take a lot of work. We'd be covering a lot of territory over again, I think, Danny, to try to build that. I think the other thing too is that if the answer to one of the previous caller, one of the things he mentioned, you got to like the approach that this particular group has taken now when they're looking at trying to build a building that would be debt free. I think one of the problems, if you're building a $30 million building in your private enterprise, it takes a long while to try to get your money back. And I like their approach now. They're getting the arts community involved. They got all the municipalities outside St. John's involved. It's a regional approach. It makes a lot of sense. A hockey franchise then just gives them a tenant for 40 or 50 nights a year. It adds to it.
Okay, back we go to the telephone line again. A lot of people either want to get their questions in or after your guys' hides, one of the two. Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
Not too bad.
Okay, you got a question for Danny or Mike?
I have a question for the whole panel, but the person that probably should be there to answer it wouldn't be there, and that would be representatives of VOCM. And my days of Bob Cole and George McLaren back in the stadium with senior hockey, we got a professional franchise here. If it was such a popular venture, why did the VO drop it? Was it the commercial revenues insufficient to keep it going?
Okay, before we get into that, sir, we have to mention, by the way, that CHMR did step in, CHMR Radio at Memorial, to broadcast the games. And I know in
that,
some
Carl,
cases
and
you
I
can't pick
enjoy the
up.
broadcast. As a matter of fact, I hooked it up to the cable so I can tune them in better.
Okay.
And you're doing a good job.
Okay, we let who wants to look at that one?
I don't think we can second guess.
I'm calling from the Goulds, Danny, where Williams is quite familiar.
Oh yes, I know. My crowd are a little further down the shore, down around Bay Bullseye.
You can answer that one, Danny.
It's not an easy question because it's not fair for us to comment on why VOCM would make that particular business decision. I mean, VOCM as a radio station have always been very supportive of the team, still are, and they still do the highlights and the clips, and their sportscasts have always been very supportive of the team. But you know, I'd have to say that becomes a business decision that VOCM make, and it's a lot of this in this business is based on ratings, and I would think that if some of their night shows were more popular, then they have to make that decision. VO did express an interest, though, in certainly covering the playoffs, Mike, I think, at the end of the year. Yeah. And like I said, you don't like to second guess them on that, and they have to call them as they see them.
But don't forget now, we also carried the games here on Cable 9. We stepped in this year, and you know yourself, and put in 21 hockey games. That there's an awful lot of crew, a lot of volunteers go down and give their time to get those games on the air for the fans.
Well, I couldn't say that, but you.
Well, I had to say it. Okay, well, I get the hostess.
I think there's no question with it. Other people have stepped in. We were disappointed in the beginning. They have the right to make the decision, and they, like Danny says, they have been unbelievably supportive from day one. But when it happened this summer, there's no question we were disappointed. But the positive thing is that a lot of people did step to the plate, and we're getting good comments now and the work that has been done.
You get to play-by-play man here tonight.
We got to play-by-play man, and we appreciate it. I mean, it's one of the things about this franchise that's been really positive from day one is the amount of volunteers that work behind the scenes to make it work. There's a lot of people out there who work continuously, for the 6 years to make this franchise the success that it is.
Okay, back to the phone lines. Hello, caller.
Good evening. I was wondering, the designs that were made of the Civic Center before the previous with the previous administration. I was wondering if those same designs will be used for if and when we build another Civic Center.
I would, if I could answer that, I would think they certainly would. I mean, the people who have prepared the designs for those civic centres, proposed civic centres, have spent a lot of money doing it. Let me tell you. I understand there's millions of dollars that have been spent in preparation. So I would certainly think that those same people would come to the table again. There's certainly two that were on in the Duckworth Street area, Gower Street area that I would certainly would be back. And of course the Rock Arena group are very, very active and of course are using more of a regional approach. So I'd be very surprised if they weren't back. Now that doesn't mean that they're going to be selected, of course, by the steering committee or the selection committee that's choosing it. And I'm told that that selection is going to be made pretty soon. But you know, they've put a lot of money, invested a lot of time in it, so they'll be there, I would think.
We had Todd Gillingham was what, the Humber hitman. So if you're from Bay Bulls, would you be the Bay Bulls bully?
Possibly.
Huh? I got to lighten it up a bit, right? Okay, back we go to the phone lines. Hello.
Yes, good evening. First of all, I'd like to say that I do certainly support a civic centre. But a couple of questions I have is, one is regarding parking. And I just, you know, it seems like you have a lot of seats and very few parking. And I just think on a bad night that when you're down, you got to park down by Royal Trust someplace, walk up. You might do it once, but you're not going to do it twice. And I'm just wondering, I mean, the other thing about it is the entrance into the city downtown is 2 lanes at best. And, you know, to me, it should be built. And I'm wondering, should the Civic Centre be a convention centre and a ice arena all in one, or should it just be an arena? And should it be out someplace where you got lots of parking, you know?
Well, I think in the answer to that question, sir, I mean, 3 years ago, I interviewed all the NHL people that were at the meetings in Hilton Head, the NHL general managers, and asked them at the time if they were building a building, where would it be? Every one of them said, build it in your downtown core, and every one of them said, your problem is going to be parking, but if you want it to be successful and you want economic spin-off, build it downtown. The best example, I guess, in Atlantic Canada has been Moncton, where they built it outside the city, and they've struggled. Union Station Harbour Station is right downtown in St. John. They've been very successful. I don't know where this committee is leaning now. I would hope downtown, because I think it makes sense. You're correct. I think the parking issue can be addressed, but I think the reality is that the building makes more sense downtown, closer to hotels, makes more sense for conventions, and I think it has to be one building that handles everything. That's what seems to work right across North America, and that seems to be the way most major buildings are being developed right now.
I'll give you a suggestion that was made. The old CN property, you could shuttle people back and forth. If you can shuttle them out of Disney World, you can shuttle them out of the CN Centre down there.
Mike, and add on to that one, though, Carol, when the mayor set up an advisory committee, Shani was mayor at the time, and Rex Anthony chaired it, and at that time I went to that committee feeling that the centre should be outside of town. I felt that it should be more towards the west, where a lot of the growth was. The sanatorium site was one of the sites that was solid. The Sprung site was another site. And I went in with that preconception that that's where it should be, because it would be more central and more regional. By the time all the information was put to us on that committee, I came to the definite conclusion that it has to be downtown and it can't be anywhere else. But there are problems with the infrastructure down there. There had to be something done with the roads, but that's part of it.
Okay, back we go to the telephone line. Hello, caller.
Hello. Happy New Year to all hands.
Same to you, sir.
My question is directed at Mike and Danny. If the Leafs decide to take off in a few years' time, what's the chance of getting the Fredericton Habs in?
Slim and none?
No, I wouldn't say that.
I would never say slim and none. Right now, I mean, if you look at it honestly, and I might be a bit biased, but I think we run one of the best franchises in the league. The league keep telling us that. I think, quite frankly, Frederick, if you look at the Montreal franchise, they'd be delighted to be playing in a place like St. John's. But, you know, Toronto have been very good to us, and I firmly believe they want to stay here. I think that, please God, with a new Civic Centre, we're going to be able to negotiate a new deal. But if that can come to fruition, I believe there's other possibilities out there. I'm an optimistic, and I think there's other teams would look upon us quite favourably.
Okay, that is it. We have had it all. The last say, anybody got a question before?
No, the only question I was going to ask is, when it all, day one, has it lived up to your expectations or exceeded?
I can only speak. It certainly exceeded mine, and I remember when I first got the call from Jerry Colbert to get involved. I thought at the time it'd be a fun thing to be involved. I'm kind of lucky and fortunate that I'm still here. We've worked with a lot of good people. It's been a lot of fun, and it's exceeded my expectations. But it's like running any business. It doesn't run by itself, and we've learned every year is different, and every year brings its own challenges.
We've been fortunate. We've had good boards, and we've got great staff. And I mean, Glenn Stanford has just led a tremendous operation down there. And we kind of watched Glenn grow on the way through. And Glenn is now one of the most respected, well, probably one of the most respected managers in the entire AHL. So it has been a labour of love, and we've enjoyed every minute. And I can tell you, if you ever have a chance to get on that board, that is the best board that you will ever get on. And I've sat on a few of them, and that is a wonderful board.
Okay, that's our Sports Plus special. We want to thank Bob and Randy and Danny and Mike and Todd and Marcel and Brendan McCarthy for everybody coming by. And of course, our star from the Southern Shore somewhere as he walks in, Buddy the Puffin. We'll say goodbye and we'll see him. Don't forget the game on Cable 9 on Friday night. Getting underway at 7:35. You catch it live here and then CHMR on Saturday. So all kinds of things. And don't forget the Old Timers game Sunday. So there's all kinds of things happening at the stadium. Anyhow, on behalf of everybody, thank you for watching. And we'll see you at the stadium. Have a pleasant evening.
Good night.